Greetings and salutations to all. You are not dreaming. Oregon pulled it off.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I might play Mo Bamba so often and so loud in my apartment this week, I might get kicked out. And you know what? It'd be worth it. Be absolutely, positively worth it. This is a reaction episode of Locked On Ducks after a double overtime win against Penn State. Oh, it was beautiful, wasn't it? Have you ever enjoyed silence as much as the Oregon football team did when Dylan Thieneman leapt in the air and snatched it out of the sky to win the game? Because when I think of enjoying silence, I think about being in the state of Oregon usually, maybe in Central Oregon, nice peaceful area, maybe out in the Greater Bend area or somewhere else or somewhere near water. That's the silence I enjoy. The silence that swept over that stadium when Drew Aller threw an interception in double overtime was more therapeutic than you could possibly imagine. There were so many things to like about this game. Oregon's defense, their situational offense, third down wasn't good, fourth down was great. My three keys to the game, by the way, I didn't forget because I know you guys want to tell me. I picked Penn State to win. You know why? Because on paper, which is not where games are played, they should have. Everything that I said and rationalized into, I think Oregon is going to lose to Penn State. That all applies. It's still there. Penn State had all of those advantages and still couldn't get it done. Dan Lanning is that guy. James Franklin, not that guy. Dante Moore is that guy. Start the Heisman campaign. It's right there in front of him to be had. What a performance by everyone. I could talk about every single player and how they played in this game in the box score because it was spectacularly good. And this was not two or three guys that you were leading on for a victory. This was a true team effort across the board. Penn State had an extra week to prepare. They had over 100,000 fans screaming at the top of their lungs, and Oregon found a way. They had to dig deep. You know, in coach speak, there's a C word that gets thrown out a lot. No, not that one, because this is a G-rated show. Though if ever there were a time for me to wish it wasn't, this would be the one, because boy, I have so many passionate thoughts. The C word is culture. Culture shows up in moments like this. If you don't have a culture of belief, grit, determination, and trust, you don't win that football game if you're Oregon. Well, guess what? They won the football game. They should have lost several different times, even though they outplayed Penn State for most of the game. You know the craziest part when you look at the stats in this one? Oregon had 424 yards of offense. Penn State had 276. Anybody worried about the run defense? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. So 424 to 276 is crazy. That's a crazy discrepancy to have on Penn State's home field. And yet, here we are, saying that Oregon had every opportunity to lose that game. Penn State found a groove late. They get it to overtime, and then they wind up taking a 7-point lead. Boy, how did it feel in that moment? Try to think back emotionally to that particular moment and ask yourself, how confident were you when Oregon had allowed 21 consecutive points unanswered in the time span of half a quarter? How confident were you that Oregon was going to find a way to win the game? Probably not very. I can't blame you for that. Can't fault you for it one bit. For this Oregon team to have dug deep and figured out a way to win this football game, phenomenal. Phenomenal stuff. That's where culture shows up. Because you've got to have a level of trust and commitment to the process and to each other to dig deep and understand, all right, they've got all the momentum with 100,000 screaming people behind them, and we're going to make it completely irrelevant. I mean that is unbelievably good stuff. And in no way, I'm really not, if any of you listen to me over on Locked On College Football, you know I'm not this guy. When a result happens and it's different from what we expected, a lot of people, too many, like to go back and say, oh, this really wasn't the case. Perfect example. Illinois gets blasted by Indiana. What do people start to say? Illinois wasn't actually that good. Illinois wasn't actually, and I sat there and went, no, they had a bad day, and things snowballed. And what did Illinois do? They went out and beat USC today with a game-winning field goal. Heck of an effort by the Illini. Pales in comparison to what Oregon just did here against Penn State. So I'm not going back on the things that I said, pretending that I was trying to jinx. I thought Oregon was going to lose the football game because it turns out Penn State, still a good team. And we saw that in this one. But for Oregon to have found a way to win is all the more impressive because I felt all of those things. Because on paper, this was advantage Nittany Lions across the board. And Dan Lanning went out and won it anyway. The look in his eye, he looked like a man possessed after the game in that post-game interview. I mean, you could see how much it meant to him, how much it meant to his team. The defense went down and threw a little smack talk at the Penn State student section. I don't think anything went overly awry, so I'm here for it. Like, when you've been hearing it from those fans all night, man, there's no better feeling. I love the silence of reading a book in the middle of the forest in the morning or on the lake, and I love the silence of 100,000 plus fans watching a game and going, oh no, oh, we did it again. And they did. And Oregon did it to them. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. Guys, this live stream is going to go on for a while. I'm going to try to get to as many of your comments as I can. I won't be able to get to all of them here. I have so many messages on Twitter and subtext. Like I don't know what. I'll try and get to them tonight. I've got enough adrenaline to go into the wee hours in the morning. So 439 people watching live right now. Love that. Thank you all for being here. So I imagine we're all feeling pretty similarly to me right now. And I haven't even talked about individual plays and moments in the game. Just to be in that spot. This team, for this team, it'd be one thing if this happened last year. For this team to do it, man. For as bad as the Rose Bowl was for this coaching staff, this game was that level of great. Because there were so many guys that were playing their first real big-time football game that got out there and just outplayed a way more veteran team. James Franklin's a more experienced coach than Dan Lanning. Advantage Dan Lanning. Those receivers for Penn State, way more experienced than most of the guys in the secondary. Advantage secondary. Brandon Finney is a superstar, man. That guy's potential is as high as he wants it to be. It is whatever he wants it to be. Unbelievable game from the secondary here. Another guy that man. We're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going until the thoughts stop. I've got so many. There are no bad ones. What bad thought you going to have in this game? Yeah, I want to talk about Oregon's defense in this spot. Oh my gosh, absolutely incredible. This stream's going on for a while. Let's see if we can get that number of people watching live up to 1,000. We'll see. So the coaching staff, unbelievable day. The defense. What more can you say about the defense? So much more coming on this reaction episode of Locked On Ducks. is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. Let's see, which moment should I choose for Mazda moving the game forward? How about Dylan Thieneman's game-clinching interception? Drew Allard didn't even see him. At 6'5", he somehow didn't see him or thought he could fit it in the window, and Thieneman off a pogo stick leapt into the air and like Superman saving a civilian, just give me that game, and called game on the spot. And the silence, it wasn't deafening, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. You just hear it in real time. You go back and watch the play. Penn State, yeah. So that moves things forward for the Ducks pretty considerably, just like Mazda does. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. I didn't expect this, but I'm happy to see it. Just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. You guys ready for a live iteration? Wait for it. A live second segment sip. How often do you get to see that? So, Oregon's defense in this spot played unbelievably well. And yeah, they give up the 2 drives late and the game gets to overtime. Frankly, as I realized that was unfolding, I didn't have the visceral reaction in the negative of, oh man, here we go with the defense again. Like, they played so well. I'm going to throw a golf analogy at you, which is painful because the U.S. Ryder Cup team stinks. I mean, stinks so bad. Anyway, this is appropriate. Oregon's defense through the first 3.5 quarters was playing out of their minds. And you knew they were going to cool off at some point. Take a stretch of 9 holes. If you come out, I played in a little Tuesday game with a friend recently on this really short and easy course. And we were playing from tees that are further ahead from what I'm used to. So the course was very, very short. Anyway, I came out on fire. I was 5 under through 4 holes. Now, that's an electric start. You also know in the back of your mind, and I knew, well, I'm not going to play like this for all 9 holes. And I made a couple bogeys down the stretch. But I wound up shooting 3 under on the side. That's what this Oregon defense just did. They came out, and it was so good for such a long period of time. You knew you're not going to hold Penn State to 3 points on the road. You're not going to do it. Like, that's not a reasonable expectation. And so eventually Penn State got in their rhythm at the end. And then when it mattered most, the Oregon defense hunkered down and made the play. Made the play of the game. Yes, I thought people were talking about this. Yes, I thought it was targeting. Targeting's a dumb rule. It's just officiated so poorly and inconsistently. It's awful. But anyway, so for Oregon's defense in this spot to have held Penn State to under 300 yards, they had an extra week to prepare. They were the team that was at home. They've got all the veterans, and this young defense is an unbelievable job by the coaching staff. Unbelievable job by Dan Lanning and his entire staff, top to bottom. I'm not just talking Tosh Lupoi and Will Stein. I'm talking Rashad Samples, the running backs coach. I'm talking Coach Wadood on the defensive staff. I'm talking Coach Hampton on the defensive staff. Like, to have this group through 4 games that Oregon, could have sleptwalked through, and for large parts of their first 4 games did, to have them ready in this spot for Penn State is outrageously good stuff. Outrageously good. It's a tough day for the Oregon doesn't develop talent crowd. Tough day. Tough day. Boy, you are taking a shot below the belt on this one. Because Oregon just went out against a vastly more experienced team and outplayed them. And they were good situationally, and they responded to adversity. That was something I talked about with Dante Moore in this game. where, I wondered how he would do. And it was such an awesome opportunity for him to have this big test because he was going to be beat up, bruised, challenged more schematically than he had been in a game so far this year. Did you see his jersey at halftime? He'd been sacked once all year. Now, he had to run more in this game, but that's kind of what happens. You think back to the 2019 Pac-12 championship game. Justin Herbert hasn't run all year. Well, you're going up against a great run defense in Utah. Yeah, sometimes you need the extra numbers of the quarterback run. And Will Stein dialed up a few, and Dante Moore scrambled a few times and made a bunch of really good decisions. I am so incredibly impressed with the way Oregon's defense responded time and again, and they set the tone early. So my 3 keys for Oregon to get a win, I'd give them a green check passing mark on all 3 of them. Because number 1 was get off to a strong start. And when I talked about that going into this game, it wasn't Oregon's got to score a touchdown on their first drive. Oregon's got to force Penn State to go 3 and out. No, they just couldn't get off to an early deficit, and they didn't. It was a slugfest, defensively driven first half. Those that are not high on Tosh Lupoi, you gotta take this one on the chin a bit as well. But it's, in the best sense because, well, the defense played incredibly well all game long, really, except for those 2 drives in the fourth quarter, which you kind of feel was coming at some point. So for Oregon in this spot, the way that the defense played was just so incredibly awesome. Just everywhere that you look, plays were getting made. But they got off to the strong start. They forced Drew Aller to beat them, who ends the game 14 of 25 for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a game-losing interception in double overtime. Yeah, check. And then I didn't say Oregon needed to win the rushing battle. I said they need to have success running the ball. They won the rushing battle just for good measure. 4.5 yards a carry, 176 yards. Yeah, that's what it looks and feels like, and your quarterback's got to help out, and Dante Moore did. Took some shots, bounced right back up, time and again. That's what it's going to look like when you play another championship caliber team, which Penn State is. Are they as good as Oregon? Hard to say that after today. I mean, anybody could have won this game. Did Oregon outplay them? Yeah, in the box score, sure. Penn State still could have won the game, and we'd have a very different feeling right now. But I think that for Oregon, they hit those 3 keys I talked about. Check, check, check. And here they are. They've won the game. And no, I didn't think they would win the game because Penn State had every advantage. And yet, Oregon is 5-0. Oregon's 2-0 in Big Ten Conference play. Going into the bye week. Indiana's up next. They look much more human this week, scraping by Iowa. And on the road at Kinnick Stadium, a place that Oregon will also play this year. But this game, to me, I have a bunch of great things to say about the offense. But big picture for the defense. Tosh Lupoi last year took flack from a lot of Oregon fans. Don't know what flack you're going to give him right now. I don't know where it comes from. I downplayed the quote-unquote running game weakness. Kind of feel like I was right after this one because the run defense was really good. If you felt going into this game concerned with Oregon's run defense, would you have taken end of the day 139 yards for Penn State for 4 yards a carry? Any day of the week. Because what does that do? Forces Drew Aller to beat you. And they revamped their receiving core. Too bad Oregon's secondary was much better today. Despite some youth and inexperience, boy, they play like a talented and experienced bunch right now. And they are. They are. It's really awesome. Really awesome to watch. The staff has just done an absolutely incredible job with this roster. And for them to go and win this game, oh man. Quite the day, quite the game. So, defensively, I feel good about all 3 units. Defensive line, pushing guys around. They had 2 sacks in this game, 3 other tackles for loss. Oregon surrendered 1 negative play, 1 TFL for Penn State in the entire game. That's more, it is, talking about how well the offense played in the offensive line. But this Oregon defense and much maligned defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoi silenced his critics this week. No other way to see it. This was the best big game defensive performance Oregon has had probably since Utah 2022. And that was at home against a Utah team that was good, went on to win the conference, but was not as strong offensively on paper as this Penn State team was. And Oregon made them look incredibly pedestrian. You took a first-round quarterback talent and Drew Aller and again made him look like a 5th-round flyer. I mean, 14 of 25, 5.5 yards per attempt, 137 yards. Secondary was balling today. Everywhere you looked, the secondary was balling, and that was awesome. We're at 829 watching live. We're going to get that to 1,000. This was just an incredible football game. 3-3 at the half. I don't know the last time we saw that. You know, that Utah game I mentioned was low scoring, but pretty sure Oregon scored both their touchdowns in the first half, or at least one of them, because they scored on that opening drive, if I remember correctly. So, man, that is an incredible win. I'd say Ohio State last year was probably a touch bigger, but I think this one was tougher because of everything that I talked about for months, and the Ducks overcame that. They overcame the youth. They overcame the lack of experience. They overcame the long road trip. They overcame the crowd. Like they look like an incredibly well-coached team because they are. They play like a really well-coached team because they are. I don't bring this up to unnecessarily take a shot, but the best example of what the opposite end of the spectrum looks like from a coaching standpoint is what's happening in Corvallis. The Beavs are not a well-coached football team. They've got a coordinator who's a head coach. Oregon has a head coach who was a coordinator. And he just keeps getting better and better. And going into last year, can Lanning win the big game? I heard that so much. Can Dan Lanning win the big game? Needs to break through. Yeah. We're good on that, right? Like, everybody understands that. He's beaten James Franklin twice. Split with Ryan Day. I don't have enough good things to say about Dan Lanning because you can't come up with enough good things. There's so many aspects to how impressive this is. So let's flip over, talk big picture on the offense, and then I'll try to get to some of your guys' comments later. We're 23 minutes into this live stream. I'm nowhere near. I have nothing to do tonight but sit here and talk about how Oregon beat Penn State on the road. Hold on. Can't do the live reads if I don't have the actual words. You know? That makes it difficult. Okay. Thoughts on the offense coming next. First, it's time to talk about who delivered, brought to you by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. Dante Moore. Oh, my goodness. Dante Moore, 29 of 39. Dante Moore, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 0. And 10 carries for 35 yards. Yeah, you can start the Heisman campaign now if you'd like. You can get it going. You can get it going. Decori and Moore. Isn't it fun when big-time recruits just live up to the hype right away? Just like that. Yeah, Decori and Moore, 7 catches for 89 yards to lead the way for the Ducks. Those guys delivered just like DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. This episode also brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Look, if you need to make your caffeine intake better and better tasting, 5 Hour Energy is the way to do it. If I wanted to stay up all night, I would do one of two things. Take a 5 Hour Energy shot at the 1 or 2 a.m. mark, or just keep this live stream going, because this is pretty good too, but it's not as good as 5 Hour Energy. What you love most about them is they've got big taste. It's a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere to get that boost when you need it. Felt like Oregon's defense kind of needed one after allowing 21 straight points, and then boom! I bet you they got a berry flavor. Berry, fantastic. They've got a lot of great flavors out there. So enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. Time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in store and online at 5-Hour Energy, 5hourenergy.com, or check them out on Amazon today as well. Get you a 5 Hour Energy. Get the energy you need. Third segment set, because, yeah. All right. Offensively, hard-fought game. And Oregon, I know I said I was going to get some comments. I will. I'll try to. That'll come later. So, offensively, I actually didn't hate what I saw from the Ducks in the first half. They moved the ball. They got stopped on fourth down a couple times. I can't expect perfection because, as I talked about going into this game, you've got a really talented defense for Penn State. Fact check, true. You've got a great defensive coordinator. Fact check, true. That's what it looked like. A really good offense going against a well-coordinated and talented and rested defense, and yet they didn't sack Dante Moore a single time and had one negative play. Like, that is so outrageously good. What a performance by the O-line. Also, complete crap on that unsportsmanlike on Alex Harkey. Alex Harkey, dude, don't change your mentality or attitude or whatever. That was absolutely I cannot stand soft officials. I can't stand it. The ones that don't let players talk a little smack or get overly sensitive or let their egos get in the way. It drives me insane. Like, dog, no one's there to see you make the play. Horrifically bad unsportsmanlike penalty. They barely even touched each other. They barely said anything. Go in there, separate them, say, hey, guys, let's knock it off, all right? Don't let this escalate. Like, be an adult about it. Man, bad officials drive me insane. And that drove me absolutely, positively insane. So, the offensive line, though, to not allow a sack, you have to give credit to Dante Moore as well. And was he under more pressure than he has been in recent weeks? Yeah, it's not as if Penn State registered 0 quarterback hurries. Dante Moore mixed with this offensive line that I think is playing better than last year's unit, which is crazy because that group had a first-round pick at left tackle. Across the board, they're playing incredibly well, and Dante Moore's pocket mobility, presence, and poise, and valuing the football in there, he has two hands on it a lot. He's not being reckless, making good decisions. Those two things are working in perfect concert with one another. It is John Williams directing Duel of the Fates. It is so awesome to watch. So awesome to watch. Because the way that Oregon is succeeding offensively is so myriad. There are so many different things to like. The offensive line is playing well. Dante Moore is allowing them to be successful. And then the receivers are playing great. The running back room is deep. And Will Stein was really good. And I did have the thought when I was driving home from the Southern Utah game that, Dante Moore, 29 of 39, 248, 3 touchdowns, 10 carries for 35 yards. And most importantly, a win. A win on the road against Penn State. Yeah. You can start the Heisman campaign, and guess what? I don't know how we're going to keep Will Stein in Eugene past this year. That's a future problem, not a present problem. But Will Stein had an awesome day. Awesome day. He got the better of Jim Knowles in this spot. It was pretty even. I'm saying 51-49, 52-48, but he had the edge. 5 of 7 on fourth down against Jim Knowles on the road is crazy good work. And right out of the gates, even though Oregon didn't score, I could tell Will Stein was in a good place offensively and was making the right calls. He had the right personnel on the field at the right times. And situationally, Oregon was not good on third down, but they were great on fourth down. 5 of 7, I will take that. Absolutely will take that. I did not have a problem with the moments when Oregon went for it. They did take some points, and we've learned from past experiences how important that is, particularly on the road. And I look at what this Oregon offense did. What do you focus on? If you're a defensive coordinator, I'd love to ask Jim Knowles about this. If you're a defensive coordinator preparing for this Oregon offense, what do you focus on? Like, what do you say, we got to take this away? We can't let them do that. I don't know what the answer to that question is. There's nothing that this Oregon offense isn't capable of doing. And Penn State's defense, by the way, did not play some horribly bad game at all. They played a great game. Oregon was 3 points at the half. If you'd been told going into it, Oregon's going to score 3 points in the first half, you're thinking, oh boy, here we go again. Here we go. Will Stein and Jim Knowles, that's advantage Knowles, and this is that. Found a way. Kept at it. Defense was really good. And you did enough. But again, Jim Knowles, still a good defensive coordinator. That Penn State defense still has plenty of talent. So people keep commenting like, you might have missed on the stream earlier. I thought Oregon would lose the game. Dan Lanning, I'm sorry I doubted you. I doubted the Ducks in this spot, but guess what? Here we are. So, man, everything about watching the offense is good. Like, they're good situationally. They can run the ball. They can throw it. They can go down the field. Let's talk about the touchdown in overtime to Gary Bryant. That is a masterclass of veteran-type quarterback play. NFL scouts are going to drool over that one pretty easily. Because what you've got in that situation is a naked boot, a player in Dante Moore's face. It's designed to roll to the right. He reads that the defensive end has some outside leverage, so he cuts it back, 2 hands on the ball, takes it away, cuts inside, throws a laser to Gary Bryant on the run, and that proves to be the winning touchdown. That is not normal, even for a third-year college player. For a first-year full-time starter, it's not normal behavior. The throws that Dante Moore made in this game were so spectacularly good. And he just, the poise that we saw and the comfortability and the good decision-making that we saw from Dante Moore in the first 4 games, it was there in this environment. That is night and day. There's a difference between going to your local Muni and shooting 75 and going to Pebble Beach, or well, actually Spyglass Hill. Pebble's not that hard, but going to Spyglass Hill or a PGA Tour caliber course and shooting 75. Dante Moore did the second part. I made the math analogy this week. Oregon had passed algebra and algebra 2. Great. You're going to calculus now. Yeah, this is more than a passing grade. You did really well. And you won with so many different players. It was not just one guy leading the way or one side of the it wasn't the defense bailing the offense out. It wasn't the offense bailing the defense out. You know, for a large chunk of the game, probably over half of it, yeah, it was definitely the defense, and then the offense found its rhythm. The offense executed in situational moments when they needed to. And then you get into overtime because the defense starts to fall back and the offense picks them up. Defense has allowed 21 straight points. Offense scores a touchdown. Offense scores a touchdown again. Defense responds. That's what a heavyweight college football bout looks like and feels like. And that's how it plays out. That's how this one went. And Oregon came out on top. And for them to have been so good situationally was spectacular. I'll wrap this up. I'm going to keep going. So I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to go back and watch every single snap again. Well, no, I didn't see every single snap in this game. I can't wait to, though. I cannot wait to. Let's talk about Dante Moore a little bit. Definitely going forward, would only like him to run situationally, like the fourth down quarterback run early in the game. Good play call from Will Stein. Those are the moments where I'm okay with Dante Moore running. Man, he's taken some hits, but absolute positive warrior. Just a warrior out there. I mean, the white jerseys look fresh, clean, and wonderful, by the way. When you put wings on helmets, good things happen. That's the rule, both visually and on the scoreboard. Dante Moore's white jersey was a dark shade of grass green pretty early in the ball game. And he would get popped, and he would just get right back up. Dude is just so outrageously tough and played like an absolute gamer. I love that he throws the ball away when he's under pressure and there's nothing there. I love that he's not putting the ball in harm's way when he is throwing the ball down the field. He wasn't perfect in this game. He should have had an interception. But Decori and Moore, he's so awesome, dude. On that slant that Decori catches on the ricochet, where it goes off his hand, it's a poorly thrown ball from Dante Moore. A little bit too much zip, offline, and Decori had to reach for it a little. Pops in the air. A.J. Harris wasn't expecting it. He bounces the ball off his helmet, and then Decori has the strongest hands in the world, which weren't on display as much in that moment as the long catch. But right off the line, Decori Moore, a true freshman, is beating a early round pick at corner in A.J. Harris. Just cooked him right off the line. He's so awesome. And Dante Moore is looking his way more and more and more as the season's going on. And it's spectacularly good. That connection that we talked about on the show going into this year, how much would it be Dante Moore to Decori Moore? Yeah. Can somebody somehow sign me up for 3 years of that? It would be unlike anything we've seen. I don't know if we can do that. So, all right, let's close with some comments. There'll be more pods throughout the week. There'll be one of them. There's so much to talk about with this game. Okay. Rick, what was my score prediction? 34-29 Penn State. Oregon puts up 30. I predict him to get 29. Not bad. Not bad. Defense just played better. Best big game defensive performance of the Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi era. I think that's pretty obvious. I don't know. Like, if you count Illinois last year, I guess, they were a top 20 team. That was a big game. They gave up 9 points, but that still pales in comparison to dominating Penn State for 3.5 quarters and getting the game-winning interception on the road when they were off a bye, extra week to prepare. So, yeah. We were better. Why did you doubt? Because on paper, Oregon should not have won this game. Vegas agreed, by the way. That's why Penn State was the favorite. Oregon won anyway. That doesn't speak to the fact that those assumptions were incorrectly made. It speaks to how well Oregon played and how great Dan Lanning is as a head coach. I mean, outrageously good. Outrageously good. Let's see what other questions we got here. Imagine if Evan Stewart is available for postseason. Oh man, Malik Benson was taken out by Penn State in this game. And, that's part of the reason Oregon didn't score as many points. And guess what? Still really good. Still really good. Decori Moore is really good. Let's see. It's just kind of commentary right now. Not so many questions. Do you think we're better than Ohio State? Right now, yeah. We'll see by the time the Big Ten championship game rolls around, which, not a guarantee we meet them there. Penn State still plays at Ohio State. Maybe Penn State finds a way to break through. Ohio State's defense, legit. I mean, no Jim Knowles, no problem. They bring in Matt Patricia, and their defense looks really good. Really, really good. Their offense, I like Oregon's more. So I love Oregon's defense. I love Oregon's offense. I love Ohio State's defense. I kind of like their offense. It's okay. Julian Sain is not playing at the same level as Dante Moore, which again is another testament to the job this coaching staff has done to get the young guys ready to go. It's not as easy as Oregon is currently making it look. It isn't. Sain is a crazily talented dude, could absolutely be a future first-round pick at quarterback. He's not as far along as Dante Moore. He's a year younger, admittedly, but Dante didn't play at all last season. Neither did Sain, and Dante played a handful of games in 2023. But Will Stein and the offensive staff just keep doing a really good job of getting their guys ready. Next, man, this is a wide receiving core that's without 2 former 5-star recruits. Two, and yet they're able to deliver. De'Aaron Hill should be RB1. Man, Zach sends this one in. If I click on this, is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. I haven't done this that many times. Does this increase your confidence that Oregon goes 12-0? Yeah. Yeah, how can it not? I mean, I had them 11-1 before the year losing this game. So the fact that they won makes me more confident that they would win the rest of the games that I expected them to, because they won the one that I didn't expect them to win. So De'Aaron Hill is RB1. Davison is 2. Stop playing Jaden Lamar. I mean, I don't think Noah Whittington is suddenly a slouch. That wasn't an Jaden Lamar. I think Lamar is the 4th best running back that Oregon has, and he's solid. That's how I've always felt about Jaden Lamar. Yeah, he's solid. Be good. Do I want him to be RB1 for a season? Nope. De'Aaron Hill, dude. De'Aaron Hill ran the ball 10 times for 82 yards in this game, and also caught a touchdown, 2 catches for 12 yards. De'Aaron Hill and Jordan Davison, I see why the staff said, yeah, they're better than we thought. These two guys are true freshmen. They were running against high schoolers last year. It's really easy to see when you watch him run why De'Aaron Hill averaged 16 yards a carry in high school last year. It was unbelievable. That's unbelievable to think about. He just went as a true freshman on the road and was Oregon's, 3rd best offensive player. If you take out offensive linemen, it'd be Dante Moore 1, Decori Moore 2. It's probably De'Aaron Hill number 3. The options and the depth at the running back position are spectacularly good. And De'Aaron Hill is one of those guys. De'Aaron Hill is such a dude. I love watching him run. Are you entertained? You're missing the word not there, Steve, in that comment. Are you not entertained? Gosh, that was good. Matt, can you always pick against the Ducks? This is only the 3rd time I've ever done it. First time I've been wrong. So, I mean, should I going forward? I feel like it's too early to jump to that conclusion, At the moment, this is an aberration. Hill is special. Yeah, De'Aaron Hill is going to have an incredibly productive Oregon career. Incredibly productive. I said I might go for an hour. I'm coming up on 45 minutes. I might go for an hour. Oh, we'll see. Okay. Dorian sends this one in. Spencer, with the remaining teams on Oregon's schedule, which team or teams will be the most problematic? Well, Indiana does not stink. USC is also a good team. Washington, they have a lot of good teams on their schedule. They don't have any great teams. Indiana is capable of being great, but they look pretty human this week. Iowa is kind of a good team, but kind of not. Indiana, I think, looks like the best team so far. They've got them at home. USC is probably next. They've got them at home. Washington, good team. Not a great team. So, are you mentally prepared for your crossover episodes with Goins? No amount of mental preparation ever gets me ready for Jacob Goins, but we get through it anyway and have a good time. I feel like we didn't see much of Hughes. I don't think Mekhi Hughes made the trip. He's not as good as the other guys. Good problem to have. Really, really good problem to have. This is a good one from Andrew. Is Kenyon Sadiq secretly made of liquid metal and sent from the future to terminate the hopes of Penn State? You know what I thought was funny? When he hurdled a guy in the first quarter. I think it was his first touch. And he hurdled a guy. Maybe we should have known then that Oregon was going to win. Like, Penn State has to be tired of watching this guy just jump over defenders. He was great in this game. He had 6 catches for 49 yards, including a 23-yard reception. So, yeah, Sadiq, I saw in game day today, one NFL draft analyst has him as tight end 1 for the 2026 draft. Hard to argue with. Because he's not just a great pass catcher and a uniquely good route runner and uniquely athletic with great jumping ability. He's also an incredibly good blocker. He's something. He is something, man. Shout out Jamari Johnson. He caught the shovel pass for the touchdown. Oh my gosh, dude. It's such a dangerous, muddy play call, and it worked. So yay, but also, like that was tough. Was I the only one super impressed, or not super impressed with Will Stein 75% of the game? Oregon had 3 points at the half. It was like the best 3-point offensive first half you could ask for. Like Penn State just made a couple of plays. Sometimes you got to tip your cap. When a pitcher goes up against a great hitter and he throws a splitter down out of the zone that started as a strike, ended up at his ankles, and he flips the bat at it and soft serves it into right field. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap and say, I made a good pitch. And he had a better piece of hitting. That's kind of how I felt watching Oregon in the first half offensively. I'm like, well, I don't think the play calling's way off, and it's not like they're struggling to move the ball. They're not going backwards. They're not shooting themselves in the foot. It's just Penn State's good, and it's going to be hard in that environment to move the ball on that particular defense. So, all right, a couple more. Will this secondary hold off Indiana? Dude, I need to go back and watch the film to get like a full breakdown on the secondary, but instant reaction impressions, so good. So good. Like Penn State has a good trio of wide receivers. They just weren't open. They straight up were not open. They could not get away. They could not get away from Oregon secondary. They couldn't create space. Ooh, golf question. Quinn says, what's your handicap? 5 under through 4 holes, even from the front tees. That's insane. My handicap is low. If scratch is low, then yeah, my handicap's pretty low. I work in golf. Those are the only 2 things I do. In the summer, I play a lot of golf. Ooh, this is a good one from Steven. Where does this game rank on all-time Oregon wins? Well, I'd put it a notch below Ohio State last year because it was Penn State, not Ohio State, even though it was on the road. I tried to dissect coming into this game, and it's really tough. I think this was one of the 10 biggest regular season games in the history of Oregon football. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go for an hour. So I'll be on here for another 11 minutes. Keep the questions coming. So I think it's one of the 10 biggest ones. USC 2009 comes to mind. Michigan State 2014-15. Those were big. Washington 2018. Civil War 2009 with a Rose Bowl berth on the line. That was big. The big house in 2007 with the Statue of Liberty. I'd say I can't put it outside the top 10. I do not believe I could in good conscience come up with a list of 10 regular season games that were as hyped and then wound up being as impactful. Because it's one thing for the game to look a certain way on paper, but then the outcome matters as well. Like Washington 2023 was one of the biggest regular season games in the history of Oregon football. And it was the biggest game in the history of that rivalry. And the rivalry makes it more important. But did it wind up being one of the, best days in the history of Oregon football for regular season? No. Why? Because Oregon didn't win the game. But of course they won this one. So a couple Stanford games get tossed in there as well. But this is up there. Man, you're in front of 110,000 on the road and you found a way to win. Oregon found a way to lose that 2023 game in Seattle, and today they found a way to win, which is pretty awesome. What else? What else you guys wondering about over here in the comments? Ridden 78. No chance of Dante staying. Probably Heisman winner. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he has one interception and it was against Northwestern in the win when the game was already over, not bad. Pretty good for his stats this year going forward. And, he'll throw a couple more interceptions. That's just the way that quarterbacking goes. But 248, 3 touchdowns with 35 rushing yards in this game, and he wasn't sacked and doesn't turn the ball over. Man, that's a Heisman-type performance. I mean, he looks like the best player in college football. You talk about teams like LSU or Texas that have big names at quarterback with Garrett Nussmeier and Arch Manning. Nussmeier did not have a good day today. Those guys are more experienced or as experienced as Dante Moore or as talented as Dante Moore, at least the recruiting ranking said so. Dante, I think, was number 2 or 3 quarterback, and Arch was number 1. Who would you rather have right now? It's Dante Moore, and it's not particularly close. It's not even kind of close, frankly. The number of teams that would love to be getting the level of production from their quarterback that Dante Moore is giving them right now is long. It is a long list, and it's not just, Oregon State would love to be getting that right now. No. We're talking the best teams in college football. Heck, Ohio State has to be having the thought in the back of their mind that the passing offense has some serious growing to do. Now, they're still a great team. They are still a great team, but I think that for Oregon's offense to be where it is, it was one thing to do it, and I talked about this all week, it was one thing to do it against Oregon State, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, Montana State. I don't know why I said those in reverse order, but I did. One thing to do it there. When you do it here against this defense on the road, that's another level. And yeah, it looked tougher in this game than it did against those other teams. But guess what? This is a really good performance. Not perfect. Nothing ever is. 248 and 3 touchdowns. Man, you can't ask for that much more. You really can't. There were a couple moments where it wasn't perfect, but when you're going against a great defense on the road, that's what's going to happen. And you know what? I talked about resiliency a lot to begin this show. How about the resilience of the offense? You go 3 points in the first half. The worst first half they had previously was 17 against Northwestern. You got 3, and you felt like, we're moving the ball. And they stuck with it. Put up a couple touchdowns in the second half. Found a way to score a couple touchdowns in overtime. I cannot say enough good things about, the amount of intestinal fortitude it took for Oregon to go on the road and win this game. Let's see what else you guys are asking right now. Throw it away in the comments. We got an Ohio State fan in the chat. How about that? I like Spencer, but I'm not listening to nonsense. Nonsense is one word, by the way, Mello. It is indeed one word. I think Ohio State's really good. Cannot watch their passing offense, watch Oregon's, and think that Ohio State's is better right now. I don't think you can say that statistically. I don't think you can say that with the eye test. I don't even think Ryan Day would tell you that. I think he'd tell you they have a long way to go. Here's an interesting question. We jump Miami. When you beat the number 2 team in the country at their place, you're already inside the top 10. It's not some stunning upset. It's this big, mega hype game. Yeah, Oregon should absolutely be the number 2 team in the country. If you want to keep Ohio State there, can't fault you for that. Now, Oregon has the best win in college football right now. It's better than Miami's win over Notre Dame. It's better than Ohio State's win over Texas. Nobody else has a top 5 win on the road. So there is a serious argument to be made, and they'll get a lot of votes for it. I could see Oregon being the number 1 team in the AP poll again when it comes out on Monday or Sunday, whenever it is. I don't think that you can make. I guess you can make an argument against it that you don't punish Ohio State for that. Not that it matters a ton right now necessarily, because Oregon's now looking down and saying, okay, is there going to be a stumble this year? Are they going back to the Big Ten championship game? And if they get there, do they want to win that game? This open question. At least we've got straight seeding. Not whatever we had last year. So, like this question. Spencer, what's your Marvel or DC comparison for this game? Well, I'm a Marvel guy because, not like new wave Marvel. That's gone downhill. Thunderbolts was okay, but a lot of the stuff post Endgame, we've made some serious mistakes. Marvel comparison for this game? Well, I think you had Iron Man against Captain America, and in this spot, Oregon is Captain America because they win the fight, the game. Captain America won the individual fight with Iron Man, but on paper, Iron Man should beat Captain America. Sure, Cap is a better hand-to-hand fighter, but overall, Iron Man's got way more going for him, and Steve Rogers found a way to win it anyway. He had some help from the Winter Soldier, of course, but going into that movie, I thought, if they end up fighting, like mano a mano, well, Iron Man should win that. And I couldn't really figure out. Now, I could figure out how Oregon was going to win this game more than Captain America beating Iron Man in a fight. But I think that you look at that fight on paper. You look at this game on paper, it should go one way. And then it didn't. And then you look at it and you come away even more impressed with the side that wound up winning. All right, I'll take one more. Funny comment about James Franklin. Boy, you guys are really going off in the comments here. Well, we're almost to an hour. Almost there. Come on, one of you has to have submitted a question. Here we go. Do you think Decori is a top 3 Lanning era wide receiver? Yeah, and he's not 3, and I don't think I'm going to rank him at 2. His hands are so strong. The long catch that he had, Oregon's never landed a recruit like Decori and Moore, and that means one thing. It's another thing for that to turn into results on the field. Oregon's never had a wide receiver like Decori and Moore. They simply have not. And I think for Oregon in this spot, like having him there and he's popping, he still even hasn't had a 100-yard game because there's so many weapons on this offense, like I was talking about earlier, which is awesome. But yeah, I don't know how. I love Tez. Troy Franklin was great. I take Decori over both of those guys. And I love those two. They were phenomenally good. Evan Stewart is an absolute certified baller. And I'm still going to take Decori and Moore. He's a true freshman. True freshman. That's crazy work. All right. An hour's probably enough. Oh, look at this. 12:20 in the morning. I'll have a show for you on Monday. So hope you all enjoyed. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And yes, go Ducks.